Hi, how are you? Thank you for attending. My name is May Kesler. I'm a physical therapist and massage therapist, and I'm also a dancer, choreographer, dance teacher, somatic practitioner, fashionista. Oh my goodness, what's a fashionista? Fashionista, well, I'll talk about that later, but it means I'm very interested in fascia, the connective tissue that binds us all together. Um, I see Therese is here. So I'm recording this mostly for the Facebook group that's women over 50 with scoliosis. And yeah, I actually qualify for that, which is why I joined the group. But I also noticed in reading a lot of the posts that so many people were really searching for a way to find help. And there are so many things out there and so much information, and unfortunately, some misinformation. So, not that I know all the answers because we don't, nobody does. But one thing I do know for sure is that there is no one right path for every person, meaning that you have to make your own recipe of what helps you. And not only what helps you, but what you need at this moment at today for how you are today. And that's really like, how you live life, actually. Some days you feel like you need, I don't know, more protein, and some days you feel like you need more vegetables. And of course, you should have both, but some days you want this, and some days you want that, and some days you want them together. But the thing that I see is like people over 50, women over 50, generally are going into menopause and then they lose estrogen. And then in losing estrogen, unfortunately, we lose bone and bone mass. And we should have a certain amount of mass in our bones. Otherwise, well, I'm going to go get my fascia cloth. My fascia cloth. So, oops, this is the other one. Don't lose me now. I'm still here. Wish. Is this it? All right. Well, that was an interlude. This is my fascia cloth. Now you're like, what do you mean fascia cloth? This is my cloth that I found in the now extinct Joann's fabric. We'll probably all know about the loss of Joann's fabrics, but this is cloth that I found that really looks a lot like what fascia looks like. What is fascia? Fascia is the three-dimensional spiderweb collagen light-filled, fluid-filled tubules that are within us. Now, it's very interesting, but actually today, this is May, what is it? May 11th, in the New York Times online, there is an actual article about the interstitium. And the interstitium is really the fascia that surrounds and infiltrates every cell in our body. So I love looking at this fabric because it's not fabric that's woven with a weft and a, what's the other one, a crisscross. It's actually random. And that is what our fascia is like. It's like a three-dimensional spider web that is not a pattern, really. There's a randomness to it. Now, what is the randomness to? That has to do with biotensegrity, which means that it's going, when we pull on it, it's gonna have a certain tension, and that it holds us. If you imagine there's cells in every one of these little spaces, then the fascia, the interstitium around the cells, literally gives the cell its shape. Now, if things go wrong, that shape goes out of whack and it doesn't hold it. And then we get twists in our fabric, and the cells within that twist then are literally dehydrated. Dehydrated then means, well, they kind of die away. First, they complain of pain, or things don't move well because here you have a straight line of a lot of tension. And look what's happening here, not enough tension. And this disconnect, well, just say dysfunction, then creates pain, a line of tension, and a line of weakness. So too much tight, too much weak. That's a very long story, very short. But I'm telling you this because this is rather new information in the medical world. Doctors don't really know about it yet. That's why the New York Times is going, oh my goodness, this is new. Actually, it's not really new. It's not new at all. It's what they talk about this a little bit in the article, that it actually is what is the basis of Eastern medicine. And they're going, oh, this information now brings East to West because we're all connected. Um, but the medical profession has not really taken it yet because it takes a long time for research to get into medical texts and then into medical curriculum. And as you can imagine, a medical student now has like so much to learn. And I've talked to my colleagues, why can't you get this stuff into at least a course in medical school? And they go, they have so much to learn, they won't even talk to me, no matter who it is. PhDs, doctors themselves, all the people who are trying to get this information out are having a hard time. Well, it is slowly getting there, but we've definitely known about this as a big paradigm shift in how we think about the body for, I would say, 25, 30 years. The other, if you want to learn more about it, you can also look up this, hold on, this lovely gentleman named Jean-Claude Guillemberteau. I don't know, does this show up right? Jean-Claude Guillaume, this is remember DVDs? This is a DVD when his first book first came out in 2014. But you can now find all of his videos and information about that on his two YouTube channels with his name. I also have some information on my Vimeo channel, May Kesler, remember there. So I have some videos where I talk about it. So why did I start talking about all this when I'm talking about women over 50 with scoliosis? Well, we talked about that. Then hormones are decreased and then you lose bone. So in this fascial web is where it gets calcified, fold over, fold over, fold over in the embryo. And then you have, instead of a very flimsy piece of gauzy like fabric, it's now this rather strong piece. And bones are not that solid in the human body. They actually have some bend and give to them. And so here, like that would essentially be like bone. It's folded over. Of course, this is not a great, this is a scheme, not the real thing. But in here would be calcified with minerals, and that makes it harder. So when a woman reaches menopause, they lose estrogen. Estrogen then makes the bone, the calcium leach from the bones, and so it becomes more breakable. So in that sense, that these fascial the web then becomes, instead of being folded over more dense, it's less dense, and you'll see more, it has a trabecula which follows the lines of the fascia, and the trabecula, instead of being very dense, are less dense. And so the bone then, and that density, which I was going to talk about again, that density, that tension then holds us up. It's not your bones that hold you up, it's the fascia. It's the tensegrity of the fascia. This is our shape. We are not one shape. As you can see, you're never still. So all of this keeps moving, and in that, and how does, and this tensegrity, the biotensegrity within our fabric, is what holds us up. So I'll go back to why all this, keep going back to why all this is so important and why it's different than what a lot of doctors will tell you. So when you lose the bone, then you're going to have, it's easier for them to break because there's less trabecula holding it up. So what do you do to build that up? Well, there's a whole lot of ways. First of all, you got to unwind any tensions in your fascia. Okay, great. How do I do that? First thing you gotta do is move. Um, I see people like, right, like I just found out I had quote, I found out I have osteoporosis. I'm too so scared to move now because I think I'm gonna break something. Well, yes, you got to be careful about how you move, but if you stop moving, that is a surefire way to get even weaker bones. Weaker all over, but yes, even weaker bones. First of all, you lose your balance, sense of balance because you're not moving. You lose strength. You lose a neuromuscular connection. You lose range of motion. You lose the sensitivity of your brain to body. So it's the one bad thing about osteoporosis is that falls increase because of lack of balance, not only because of weaker bones. In fact, it's more that a person loses balance easier than weaker bones. Now, of course, if bones get really, really weak, that's another situation that you do have to be much more careful. But careful how? You have to move. So maybe start on the floor, get on the floor, and just literally unwind. What I call unwind, and kind of like roll, lengthen, just think about your day and everything you've done here and like that expand and do something expanding. I'm showing you just from chest up because it's Zoom and that's a whole nother problem we have. But yeah, the whole pelvis, knees, feet, everything. Okay, so that's one aspect, and then the other thing is, yes, you do want to weight lift, but you definitely first want to unwind your like whatever tensions you have. So when you're asking your muscles to work, they are in the better sense of alignment that you could have. So you don't just like go in the gym and just pick up weights and start. You want to start with how is my body aligned today? How do I feeling? Where, even just stand and close your eyes and just notice how your weight is distributed on your feet, how that affects your knees, how that affects your pelvis. And I'm thinking about it even now as I'm sitting to tell you that your feet need to be solid on the ground, not hanging out. Because, like, even I'm looking to let my feet hang out, and look what happens to me. I disappear here. All this gets rounded. Everyone gets all worried. Oh my God, I thought, a hump on my back. Well, that's going to happen if you let your feet slump. I'm going to put my feet down. That's going to push me up. And all of a sudden, I'm a completely different person. Maybe this isn't a great t-shirt to wear. But okay, so there you go. So your feet on the ground, you're going to move your pelvis. If you do have to sit and you can't like move a lot in like an hour, every 15 minutes, I'm telling all my patients, everyone I know, every 15 minutes, get up, wiggle, dance, move, jiggle. And that does not mean just get up and walk and get a drink of water because that's not really a whole hell of a lot of movement. It's better than nothing. But if you can, and I have a video, it's called the 1 minute dance. You do it, and it takes the video's 5 minutes to teach you how to do the 1 minute dance. But after a while, you get the idea that at least every 15 minutes, you move everything you can for a minute. So I'm going to show you very quickly the 1 minute dance. These are my feet, and you're now going to see all my books, all my PT stuff. So here, oh God, this is a terrible view, but okay. So I usually have it better, but not right now. So feet, you're gonna start with your feet. You're gonna like pedal your feet, pinky to toe, big toe to pinky, back and forth, toe to heel, heel to toe. Any games like that you want to play, you can shift weight from right to left, left to right. You can go around the edges of your feet, go heels to balls, one at a time, together. If you have balance issues, you definitely use the bar and holding on to something. So you did something with your feet, something different with your feet. Then you're going to peel your feet off. And you can do that. And you can do ankle circles. And you can do this seated as well. So you could be doing this right now in a Zoom and I would never know it, right? Then you're going to bend and stretch your knees. Bend and stretch your knees. And now you can do some hip stuff. You can march in place. Also, while you're on a Zoom and no one would ever know. You can't do what I'm telling one to do with my upper body. But if you then get to standing, you can go hips out and around, up and around. You can go back and around, back and around. You can crisscross. You can crisscross. Basically, I'm trying to think all the odd ways of moving your body, not just walking. Okay, so now we're up to pelvis. I'm going to move it up so you can see a little bit more of me. Pelvis. So shift weight right to left. If you're sitting, you shift weight from right to left, front to back. Circles, there's a little bit of jazz class in here, but really try, spiral it around. Spiraling is something we really miss a lot in our daily life on this planet as it is right now. Then you can do ribs. So ribs go side to side, front to back, circle around. As you can tell, I'm just breezing through this because I want you to think of ideas, ways to move your body. I'm going to rotate my spine around it. If you have osteoporosis, you got to do it lighter. That doesn't mean you don't do it at all. It means if you're really worried about it, then you just do micro movements. So just the tiniest movement in a spiral, tiniest movement, right? Little, if anything hurts, you do the smallest amount that you can do, but you still do it. So a tiny movement, like you're breathing, you're moving. If you're alive, you're moving. So you don't have to worry. Just do the tiniest movement to just barely feel anything. If things are really hurting, just even a breath out and maybe expand it with your arms. Maybe a little look over your shoulder, and you do it as slow as you want. And just like this is what ends up being dancing, because as you breathing, then as I'm twisting, oh, I'm shifting my weight. I'm twisting the other side. I shift my weight there. As I bend forward, and again with osteoporosis, you don't want to do a lot of bend forward, but just a little bend is okay. A little because you have to bend to extend. So you're bending and extending. And then you can add your elbows to that. And your poor elbows and arms are always forward and always heavy. So let's take them out and open up your palms. You just circle your palms. Again, if I was on a Zoom, you would not know as I was moving my hands. So these are all ways you can just keep moving. Of course, shoulders, shoulder blades, both together, one at a time, back and forward. You can add your shoulders to that if your shoulders are okay. If it hurts to do that, then just do this much. If it hurts to do that, then just do this much. If it hurts to do that, just do the tiniest bit you can. But one at a time gives you a spiral. Both together gives you a flexion extension. So there's two different movements, right? And then of course you got head neck. Oh my God, my neck cracks, all this. Well, a little cracking is okay, as long as it doesn't increase pain, and doesn't increase pain that you already have. So the first nice way to think about it is you have a pencil on top of your head, and you're going to draw the target sign on the ceiling. So you're going to do the middle of the target first. It's just the tiniest movement. Believe me, in your everyday motion, you'd be doing this much movement. This just has a consciousness about how am I moving my head neck, and really try to make a really round circle. And of course, you always want to do both ways. So the circle to the right, circle to the left. And now you're going to make a little bigger circle, so maybe the second circle in the target, and so on a third. You can, when I do this, I keep an ease in my ankles, knees, and hips. I'm not standing up super straight. That puts too much tension. We want to have a nice little give and ease in what we're doing. You can look over your right shoulder, look over your left shoulder. Now you can do the biggest one that you can, as long as it doesn't increase pain. Pain is a very subjective thing, right? So there we go. Oh, I'm gonna finish this. Right. And then you reach up. Just reach, lengthen, breath, and exhale and drop everything down. And I like to rise up on my toes, practice my balance. And yes, I'm up on my toes. Yes, I'm a dancer. I took ballet class today. So I did this, so that's why it's easy for me. But this is a really, really good way to strengthen everything from pelvic floor, feet, pelvic floor, up the spine, through the top of the head, tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth, to the top of your head, and nice and tall. Yes, I am standing here as if it's nothing. I would love everyone's balance to be that strong. You also want to shift your vision. So look right to left, and nothing changes. Look left to right, nothing changes. That's pretty hard, but that's a really nice exercise to do. If you have any question about your balance, you can do it with your feet down, shifting your vision. You can also, obviously, there's my bar. So you have my ballet bar. I could also do the rising up on my toes and looking with just like two fingers. You don't want to be grabbing to hold your balance. If that's how much you have to grab, then just come down. But you want to just have it just something to hold so you don't want falls, right? So, okay, so that was the 1 minute dance in what? More than 5 minutes. So the idea about that is that you're juicing up the fascia. All this is supposed to slide and glide over each other, and it's very juicy. Hyaluronic acid is there. When we don't move, inflammation sets in. Inflammation creates stickiness, and stickiness means that the tissues then get caught, and they won't slide and glide, and then we won't have this beautiful fluid movement that we have, it becomes stuck. And that's where things start to hurt. So back to, okay, so what else can you do about it? Well, then there's scoliosis. And so let's start with which part should we start with, Trisha? Let's hear a couple. Let me see what you have to say so far.
Well, I just enjoyed my little dance with you because, yeah, I love to move just like you love to move. So
Yeah.
that was fun. And I don't get up every 15 minutes when I'm working on the computer, so I'm reminded of the importance of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's good. I'm learning about fascia and I'm learning about interstitial spaces. I also read that article in the New York Times, so I'm very
Hmm.
excited that today is the day it came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we get into scoliosis and we have the questions about, okay, so it's obviously the body's not symmetrical, so the fascia is probably not symmetrical. And can you speak a little bit about what's happening to that beautiful fabric when we're all twisted and curved and arced and compromised, say?
Cool. Thank you. Okay. So you're still, oh, I'm on. Okay. So what happens in scoliosis? It can, as we know, all know, it can be for many, many different reasons. I don't know what is most common, but mine is idiopathic, adolescent onset idiopathic scoliosis, which means somewhere around 11 years old, I started to notice one hip was higher. And for me, I have a right thoracic, left lumbar, but I just said two curves. There's actually four. There's always four. People go, oh my God, I have more than one curve. No, every single person who has scoliosis has four curves, and I'll show you why. So this is a skeletal model of the bones. But remember, all the fascia is interwoven here. It's all dressed in fascia here. So, but I'm just saying, like, just for you to see why everyone has four curves. So I wish I there we go. Okay, so this it's not a great model, but it's a good enough. And her I'm saying her, she got straightened out way too much. She's been hanging from the top. Really, this is be the skull. So we have an arch here, and then a little bit roundedness in the upper back. You have to have a little bit roundedness and a little arch in the lower back, the lumbar, and the opposite arch in the sacrum. And this is the pelvis, right? So there's four curves here. Uh, the lordosis of the cervical spine, kyphosis of the lordosis, and this again goes that direction. So it's not, it's more than an S. Is right? I don't know what it's that. There's four curves. See the four curves? I'm accentuating them a little bit so you can see it. That is why every scoliosis has four curves. So as soon as so now her back is to you, and I'm going to say that this person now has a I can't do it with this, but there's a twist. So the twist happens if the major part of the twist happens in the right thoracic, which is frequent. Don't really know why. It can be breathing, it could be the way you were carried, it can be right-handedness, it can be genetic, it, and just injuries or accidents or overuse can start it, but then it can also be a genetic component. So there's that. So when the right thoracic goes that's to the right, that's going to create rib hump here. But because this it's all interconnected, the left also has to have a curve, so it will go the other way, and the left lumbar will do the opposite, and the sacrum will do the opposite. Now, on some spines, it's so subtle that you can't really tell, and it's not like clinically relevant to talk about all four. And you really could just kind of, most people will just want to focus on the two of the curves, which is fine. But the thing is like I've seen so many people freak out when they go, "Oh my God, I have more than one curve." So calm down about that. Um, the what happens with the fascia is the fascia is attached. Again, Bones are in fascia. So the bones are within the fascial web, and the fascia is calcified bone, right? So I mean, the fascia is the bone is calcified fascia. That's what it is. So you have fascia, you have bone cells in the fascia and then in the bone cells and the fascia is the mineralization that makes it more dense. So it's a more dense tissue than all and a harder tissue than others, but it's not really hard. It's not hard like when you like eat a chicken and it's dried out and cooked because that's dehydrated and then it gets really, that's when it will break easily, right? So we want everything hydrated. But you can't just go drinking lots of water and say, now I'm hydrated. There's a lot of things that have to happen to be hydrated. One of them is movement, as we said. So what happens in scoliosis with the fascia is that some areas, we like it. Sorry, she just fell. Oh my goodness. Okay. We'd like it to be nice and even, but in when it attaches to bone and things, some things get twisted when it's not just a pull, it gets twisted. So then all this tissue in here has more of a stretch on it, and the tissue within that, meaning any of the cells, muscle cells, tendon, bone cell, that gets dehydrated, and then it's not going to be able to grow. Muscles are not going to be able to contract, relax. It gets, and then it gets tighter and tighter and more inflamed. More inflammation creates more twist, and then you get more twist in your scoliosis. So you may have the harder tissue creating a curve, but then if the fascious tissue's there, that's going to take it and twist it even more. And that's why, let's take right to it, that body work is so important, because no, we're not all symmetrical. No one's symmetrical. Your heart's on this side. Well, that's my left. Your heart's on this side, so your lungs are not the same. You got your stomach down here. You got your intestine. We're not symmetrical. We're not supposed to be. Um, but so then how is it supposed to be that we're supposed to be nice and even? Well, actually no one is. And our bodies are actually, we always want to go back to like, what's wrong with my body? Actually, if you're living on this planet, there's a whole lot right with your body. Right? You gotta say thank you to your body for, because it accommodated in the best way that it knew how to make you be able to do what you love to do. So whatever it is your body's doing, it just decided that this was the best, most efficient, least energetic way for your body to function. So I guess my body decided that I needed this right thoracic scoliosis. And I just like keep going, like, okay, that event was a while ago that happened, that I was traumatized by doing this. And so now I gotta bring it back. It's like, no, I'm safe doing this. Just keep bringing it back to center and unwinding and breathing into my ribs evenly. That's a big exercise, easy exercise to do. And keep coming back to having both feet on the ground and having my body supported. So yeah, I work as a physical therapist and I'm working all day and I'm dancing. I do all this side only and that side. So how do I keep it going? Well, yes, I get body work. I get body work at least once a week. And what do I mean by body work? Well, there's some of the things I listed in the description. So the first thing I get, I really subscribe to a lot is myofascial release. It's myofascial, myofascial release. I was taught it by John Barnes, but John Barnes learned a lot of the information from people like Jean-Claude Guillaume and osteopaths and structural integration and Ida Rolf and all of these types of techniques that are out there that I just mentioned. As far as I know, they have a lot of merit. I know people who do structural integration, who do Rolfing. I also obviously know a lot of people who do myofascial release. There's a whole lot of courses that John Barnes Institute has that teaches people. But again, whenever you go to people, you have to decide if they fit for you. So myofascially, someone can say they do it, and they've even been taught by John Barnes, but you have to look. Have they only taken one course, or have they taken 12, or the whole full 16 or 20 that he has? And how many years have they been doing the work? So that's unfortunately, I mean, I remember being in someone's office when I only had 5 years experience, and I said, "Don't worry, I can really work miracles on your patients." And he said, "But you only have 5 years experience." And I said, "I'm really experienced." And he said, "Well, just wait." Well, here it is, 45 years later. Now I do understand what he means. You do want people, especially if you're in this group, you want people who I'm going to say at least 10 years experience, because it takes 10 years to make even beginning of a professional dancer. This is art. You really have, when I see my patients, I'm going to just say, like, you have to like look at every single thing that's happening in them. If they just want to only look at your back and say, okay, I got it, that's not enough. They got to look at everything from how your teeth are aligned to how you open your mouth to how your eyes look to your shoulders, everything. And that's just the physical outside. I always ask about my patients about their digestive system, about reproductive system, about emotional support systems, whatever systems are there. Like they're like, is everything working? I may not be able to treat it all, and I certainly can't as a PT. But if I see that something's really wrong in another system, that I want to know that they're being taken care of. And of course, nutritionally. So I refer out to like a nutritionist. I do take a lot of supplements myself. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. So, because I want to go back to the body work. So, when you see a body work practitioner, they should really like look at all of you and go, is everything in order here? And if not, okay, you're going to take care of this part, all the different parts elsewhere if they can't do it all. But and when they work on you, you always want, again, like, unfortunately, physical therapy had started out as needing prescriptions from doctors. Insurance just said, "Oh, so Jane has a sore shoulder, so she goes to the doctor for the sore shoulder, and then the doctor writes a prescription for the sore shoulder, and that's all they're allowed to treat." That's one of the biggest mistakes in our whole system here that you could ever talk about, whether I'm saying the shoulder, but that would focus on one part, because this is all interconnected. So if a person's shoulder is messed up, you say, like, what happens to the rest of my shirt? This is my fascia. So this is pulled. So I'm going to pull over here, but it attaches down here. So it's like pulled over. So now my hip's hurting. And now I can't move my shoulder because and then my organs are not functioning well because this is all pulled over too. And then you can see the chain of events that happens. So when you get treated, yes, they can focus on the area of like really, really bad shape that day. But overall, they've got to treat the whole person of you, everything from toes to head. Um, so the different types of body work, like I said, if you can get a physical therapist that does do that, that goes a little bit, unfortunately, as I'm saying, outside the box, and is able. There's a few states left where they still need that prescription, and it has to be one area at a time. But hopefully that it will still include everything else. If not, you can go to other ones because there are myofascial release practitioners that are massage therapists, and they could be just as helpful as a PT who's learned some of that. If you only want to get myofascial release, there's also trigger point therapy that can help. There's dry needling, which I don't do only because I don't like needles, and to do it, we have to be guinea pigs on each other, and needles don't work for me. But it is a valid thing because and acupuncture doesn't work for me either. But I know it's helped so many people. So I'm not saying don't do it. It just doesn't work for me. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to like find practitioners that you like, that their method works, their approach for you works. So acupuncture can literally, it goes in, it touches on some of the fascia, and then the fascia binds around it, and it literally helps unwind some of those tightened twisted areas that I was showing before. So that's one way of unwinding fascia. Myofascial release is another. Again, structural integration, rolfing might be another, but you gotta be careful if you have osteoporosis that these people know about what that is, and they're not gonna press down on your bones because you don't want to. You can't force this system to just shift, right? And chiropractors can, if they're doing that hard cracking, that is, can, I'm just going to say, for me, that is way too much. Okay? Because how can you, a fine tooth comb through a really rasta knot in your hair? That's a grade 5 clacking mobilization that maybe a chiropractor would do, or say someone who's less trained or doing really deep tissue work as a massage therapist. That's going to be too much, I think, for this group. I don't like it in general anyway, but when I talk about it, if you're all knotted up, you don't want to put a fine tooth comb through this. You want to find a way to soften the ends and maybe take a gentle brush and just kind of start unwinding. You really kind of don't get to the inner knots until way into quite a few sessions and unwindings until you're finally, and you're always going to have a little bit of line left there. I'm sorry, but that's our body, like scars are scars, and holes happen, and sometimes there's a hole, and when there's a hole, it's not going to pull the same way, and the body can't always heal everything, but it can do pretty well. So like I'm saying, like when you get body work, it needs to be a slow, gentle unwind in my book. Nothing great pressure, no cracking, no pulling, no overstretching. Everyone thinks, okay, I'm gonna stretch. What happened? Back to the fabric. The fabric's great. Here we have a line that hurts because it's twisted and it's tight. So we're going to say, let's stretch it out. Excuse me, I'm already stretching this. Yikes. What really needs lengthening is the parts that don't hurt down here. So that helps unwind it. So don't stretch the parts that hurt. Stretching should never hurt. What we're talking about again is unraveling, unwinding, so that you're moving like all of you and lengthening gorgeously and luscious, feel like luscious and, I don't know, floaty and beautiful. That kind of, and that's why I'm saying, like, start with micro movements. Because micro movements, our body loves that because it doesn't hurt. And it's like, oh, I can still dance to this, like, and even like use this like soft fabric to like just, and that remind yourself that it can be beautiful and feel lovely. And like, I'm actually moving quite a bit, but I'm not moving in big giant things. And the last kind of thing you want to do is like the, hey, ma, look at me stretch. Because man, that's just gonna pull a hair right out of your head. I mean, another great analogy, as I've said, is hair. So given that as hair, we either have fabric or we have hair. What's conditioner? What's softener for your hair? Softener for your fabric? What's conditioner for your hair? So we go down the list of other things. Well, one of the things is or other methods I mentioned before I forget is Alexander technique is one of my favorites. I started studying that in physical therapy school, which was 45 years ago. I am still seeing, I still have lessons with my teacher who I just love him to pieces. He's probably near 80 now. I was like, oh my God, can't believe how long this has been. But it's an amazing, amazing technique. It is super gentle, hands on, and it helps with alignment and head, neck, body. So Alexander himself kind of started with the head, neck situation. So he kind of went, if you're doing this, you're setting all the reflexes off. You're again changing the curves in the body. This is definitely a way to get a nice humpback. This is not a good position. This is computer. So he said, bring your head in line with your spine, tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth, top of the head, then shoulders soften, like widen through here. It goes all the way down the body. So then like lengthening through, and there you are. And in doing that, you sort of again gently unwind and lengthen out, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful technique. And then it goes into movement, how to sit, go for sit to standing, how to sit, and just through all the movements. And Alexander was frenemies and friends with Feldenkrais, Moshe Feldenkrais, and I know there are a lot of I've seen now a lot of online Feldenkrais classes, which is a really nice way to get introduced to it because it's movement, micro movements, which is where I got my idea about it from. And so it takes you through moving very gentle, very specific. The teacher will talk you through what movements to do, but you're still discovering how your own body moves. And that is another a part of this whole healing that it just instead of like following shapes that we think we're supposed to do, the Feldenkrais idea is you find you connecting with your body. I'm sure that's part again what yoga tries to do is that we're connecting mind to body, and I'm going mind to body, but really fascia is all over. Our mind is here in our body. It's not mind separate to body. All our sensation is in the fascia. The fascia is 250 million nerve endings. I have no idea how they came to that number, but it's a lot of nerve endings. And all of that is what makes us sense what is in our body. That is how we move so quickly. If we just thought that our brain says, okay, May, I want you to move your finger, that that information could never be this fast. This is all happening because of the fascial web. I don't have to think about this. I just have to imagine the idea and my hands move. And that's all through the communication in the web. And that's what that article is about. I think it's about, but that's what this new information is, that our bodies communicate cell to cell instantaneously. This cell in this finger knows what this one's doing instantaneously. They can't find a differential in the time. So there may be like a some micro millisecond, not millisecond, it's gazillion second. The cells react at the same time. The body knows what's going on everywhere. So if you start to think like, oh my God, I have to fix this part and only this part, or this part is not affecting anything else, that's impossible. When something is going on in your body, every other part of your body knows it right away. Anyway, so oh my goodness, where am I going with all of that? So it's all about the fascia, and that you want to, oh yes, micro movements, and that you're unwinding all of this, all of the tensions and restrictions that your body has acquired over all the years. Now we're never going to get to perfect, but what we like is that you have choices. So for scoliosis, you don't have to always go into it. You can find a way that you can come over to the more the center. You don't always have to breathe into the big side. You can breathe into the other side. You don't always have to use your right hand for everything. You can use your left. You just start shifting that we have choices. You don't have, if you have choices, then you're not going to overuse the parts that are overused and stressed. So, and especially if you have osteoporosis or and you're afraid of falling, if you only walk one way, then something goes wrong. You can only walk that way. Then you're more likely to have problems, right? So you want to learn to walk maybe a little different way. Just look, pay attention. So this mind body connection is, and I'm saying mind body, this body to body to consciousness connection. Yes, body and consciousness. So spend some time being conscious of your body, and you can do that through meditation. There's all these types of great yoga out there, and then there's dance. So oh my God, I'm 70 years old. I can't. Well, guess what? You can't. I'm 71 in 2 weeks. Yay! You can dance. There's all kinds. I don't even care what kind of dance you do. I started taking flamenco just a couple of years ago, and I've been dancing my whole life. So, I now, of course, I'm older, so the youngins won't take me in the show anymore. So I decided, well, flamenco ladies seem to be older. So I went, I love flamenco, honestly, but I went to flamenco class. I started learning flamenco. And the really interesting thing is with all the pounding we do on the floor with the feet, you know, all that year I did my DEXA scan and I gained bone in my hips from pounding on the floor. So I was like, okay, yay, flamenco. Um, I mean, anything. I mean, there's just so many kinds. So, and there's also this whole branch of dance called somatic dance. And that's really the mind body. What did we just call it, Trisha? Consciousness body connection is really somatic dance. So look up your dance schools around you and see if you can find somatic dance. You can look online, you can talk to me, we can find things together. I am totally thrilled to be able to, like, I could hold classes on Zoom if people are interested in that. I can hold workshops. I really want to do that in it, and me and some of my other fascia friends want to hold workshops in teaching way more about this stuff and then how to take care of your body. So there we go. We talked about, yes, don't panic. All the different things to take care of your own fascia, your own body, different types of body work. And then, of course, the different types of working out. And if you're dancing, that's some workout. Walking, of course, is great. But you do want to lift weights, but please, please go to someone who's really knowledgeable to learn how to do it because you don't want to just go randomly lifting weights and, okay, I'm going to get strong and go lifting a whole bunch. And then that's going to hurt. So to get out of pain, start with a consciousness connection, getting some good manual therapy, as I listed before, and then doing gentle micro movements, maybe Feldenkrais techniques. But then there's other reasons that people, we only have like 5 more minutes. Other reasons that people get scoliosis is if they're hypermobile. So hypermobility is when this fabric is too loose. It's not just less stringy and tensioned, but it's too loose to begin with. So it should kind of bounce back. And someone who has hypermobility, their fascial tissues just don't want to bounce back. It's like overstretched to begin with. That is a genetic situation. It's inherited, but it's also can come out of a person maybe like not exercising enough, um, initially not moving enough, and that if a person's hypermobile, they don't feel comfortable moving. So they often feel more pain in exercising. So then that takes, again, more very trained professionals to help you learn how to exercise in ways that don't hurt you. And I think that's a whole nother conversation. But there's more information now about hypermobility. One of my favorite people to refer people to learn more about it is Dr. Linda Bluestein. She has a Instagram called Hypermobility MD and account, and she's very knowledgeable, and I would really say a good person to look up, see all the things that she has listed. They're opening a center in Virginia just for hypermobile people. And I'm finding, yes, they always say, oh, hypermobile children and young adults is where it really shows up a lot. But as a PT, I have seen it now show up in adults, and it's not recognized because when people are hypermobile, they get stuck and they get stiff because they never want to move. So it looks like the opposite of hypermobility. They look stiffer. But if you look at their elbows, mine only go to 180. I am not hypermobile. If your elbows go beyond, that kind of double jointed look, then you're probably hypermobile. Now, hypermobile is not just only in the joints, it can be all through your tissues, and that means things like digestion can be off, hormones can be off, all sorts, everything from ADHD is highly correlated with hypermobility. There's all sorts of issues that can happen. But basically, there are ways to manage it, and that should be something that you see a specific doctor and or PT and or again health professionals that specifically know about hypermobility, and that can also feed into scoliosis. Other methods, exercise methods that I know about that have helped me are Scoli Pilates and the Schroff method, as you probably have known on this channel. About it. Scoli Pilates can be found online as Schroff method was developed by someone in Germany specifically for scoliosis. So those are exercises to help you. Again, I'm going back into my school. They taught me like, nope, lengthen up, breathe, and breathe in, and then there's very specific exercises that have to be designed specifically for your curves. So those are all things like that. That's how I manage. There's also cold laser, which can help for pain areas, and using balls and bands. One more method that I like is the melt method, MELT melt method. Suzanne Hintzman is who developed it. She uses all the little balls and porcupine balls and foam rollers to help you literally unwind some of the restrictions in your tissue. But you go online, see what her program is like, see if you like it. Some people hold classes. She has a lot of online videos. You have to see what works for you. The last thing I want to mention is hormones and um, supplements. Work with a nutritionist to see what would work for you. A lot of times I know your nutrition's fine. I know that. But in today's day and age, and with the kind of food that we have, we really can use some help. And I've been through all sorts of eating disorders, believe me, which is like started at age 11. So I need my supplements to really help me stay on track. They help there's like if I've had too much stress in my life, there's, cortisol things to look at, there's hormone levels to look at. Just, and then almost everyone needs some kind of bone building formula, but now they're saying that they only want you to just eat regular milk. I mean, dairy products for that, which can be a problem for some. There's a whole basket of things, ways to get up. What am I trying? There's a whole basket of information that you should look at for the nutritional part of your own program. That was so much. So, um, what can I say? Just come back on board. We're at 9:30.
Yeah, okay. Good. So I was beautiful. So many aspects you touched on and so much information. You clearly have given your life to thinking about this beautiful, yeah, like we said, body, mind, consciousness connection.
Yeah.
And I just love that fabric that you have that's all like so rainbowy because it
Yes.
really does, and you said it's full of light. It's like these bodies are full of light. They're full of wisdom, and
Yeah.
to give them the freedom to express themselves through movement, which is what the body's designed for. I can
Yes.
just feel that you've given this your whole, so much of your life and so much of your heart and soul to this
Oh.
area of being. It's just so beautiful to hear you talk and hear you share.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Trisha. So I think
Yeah.
we're doing this again next week. I'm hoping that some people will come on, but I'm also hoping that, some of you get to watch this. And um I think I will put in the comments, I'll post this on YouTube, so you'll be seeing it there. And then I'll put in the comments how to reach me. And I'm available obviously for, more talks and any kind of classes we want to do online. Workshops are great. Love them. We can arrange that. So I'm just here to help. I have so many things I would love to be able to share to help all you guys.
So
Thanks for listening.
beautiful. Great. I have one question for you before we sign off. I want to know
Uh-huh.
specifically about your scoliosis and your dance.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know, there for a lot of my years, I was moving and just thinking about moving. And then I
Hmm.
started thinking about moving like in ways that helped sort of support my scoliosis.
Yeah.
When you dance, how much are you thinking about your pattern, like your curve pattern? Or do you work on your curve pattern, like as your exercise, and then you go dance and you just move freely? Like, how do you balance all that?
Well, yeah. I mean, at the bar, ballet bar, I'm definitely thinking about it. My upper left, so my major curve is my right thoracic, and I have a big right rib hump. So this type tends to happen. So bar is great, right? So I'm pulling this back, but not just the shoulder. I keep thinking my left ribs want to. This is not a. I should have worn a better shirt. These left ribs want to roll forward. So I keep. Sometimes I'm in class and I'll do that, to just remind my ribs to pull back, but I can't pull back and down. So that's the Alexander technique, pull back and up. And then this is from Scoli Pilates. Put your fingertips here and lengthen both wings out to the side. See the elbows? You want to lift your elbows a little more. Yeah. So the elbows out to the side, and that helps expand the rib cage. So now I'm thinking wide and long. And now you do your ballet bar that, and just imagine in there now you're holding on. The other challenge I always have is, again, I don't want to be grabbing the bar here because that's gonna, right, pull this forward, and so I try to just barely hold the bar and really use my balance to hold, like that. Um, and then there's just dancing, and I just keep going. How do you do this on the left versus how do you do this on the right? Oh, wait, I did that. Oh, okay, let's go back and turn. It's just yes, it's constantly there. And then I forget about it when I'm trying to do something difficult, and then I come back and then I'm like, wait, why did not work on this side when it did on this? So it's constant. It's
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you have a lot of knowledge of your body, and I think that that's really maybe one takeaway is that that's how I think that's the best way to have a relationship with your scoliosis is to really know your own body, know your own pattern, and then bringing your awareness to it. I mean, before we even turned on the record, we were talking about, the person of the self responsibility versus like what the medical world can help us do. And it
Yeah.
definitely has to be a dance between our own consciousness, our own awareness, our own ability to be manifested in this beautiful form that we've been given.
One thing I didn't have surgery. I have a 43-degree curve, and it was 17 when I was left. First time it was measured, I was probably 17 when it was measured. So it was 17 when it was measured, and now it's 45, and they figure, well, by the time I live another 30 years, I'll be gone, and then it might be 60 degrees, so I'm okay. So I can manage without surgery. But any scars that a person has is going to change the scoliosis as well. But if a person has scoliosis surgery, then once that's well healed, you can also do scar release. Because just like, again, when you're sewing, you're going to sew down the seam of the scar, but you probably put a lot of basting stitches in there, and you probably and then there was inflammation, which drew in even more, and drew in even more, and drew in even more. So you do need the scar. This, don't worry, you're not, a scar tissue release is not going to undo a whole scar, but it will at least left the softer tissue around it be a little bit more flexible, so that
Yeah.
whatever, even breathing can be easier, and certainly any pain that's left is going to be easier. And again, this is a whole nother conversation. What happens in a scar, and then what's above the scar is normal and below is normal, and then what does the scar have to do in the middle? That that could be just hours of talking, and I'm sure people have tried to do that, but the surgeons are just worried about, did they do okay with this, and how to actually make this work. They're doing better and better. Believe me, 45 years ago was a Harrington rod. It was straight and you couldn't do anything. Now they're doing things where you, at least the ribs can move and you have a little movement. So that thank God they understand that that's pretty essential. But still, scar release can work. But then women have cesareans, and cesareans end up pulling down on the abdominals. The abdominals pull down to the pubic bone. That means the pelvis, it doesn't have the full movement that it could. I've had many, many patients who have painful cesarean scars 30 years later, and you can unwind it. It's just a bundle of tangles. So scar release work too. Yeah. So this, oh my God, like I said, I mean, this is like hours. This is really like, at least that's why I want to do a workshop, because I want to have everybody see it for a couple of days in a row and just work all this out and show you many different methods to help your own self.
Well, you're so enthusiastic and such a, yeah, such a wealth of knowledge. It's been a real treat to listen. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Teresa. I'm so glad you were here. So, and I'll look forward to see everybody next week and online and keep in touch. Yay! I'm gonna stop recording. Stop. Okay. Stop. Yes.